Welcome back. The primaries are coming up within Central Illinois. That's on March 17th. And among those in Peoria County is the battle for county clerk. And we have one of the candidates for that primary, Rachael Parker, here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you're already serving in this role right now, appointed into the capacity right now. But what makes you believe that you are qualified to continue on in this role? You should get the voters' vote.
Well, I'm going to back up just a little bit and say that once I got the appointment, what I did, because I didn't know the department and the department didn't know me, I met with each one of the employees one-on-one and just basically sat down with them and visited with them to find out what they liked about the department, what they didn't like about the department, if they were in a leadership role, what they would like to see happen there. And I really listened to what they had to say. And from that, I implemented a few things that I thought, based on our conversations, that would help improve the department. The first of which is customer service. We're going to be doing some customer service training that's coming up later this month. Secondly was the cross-training. The cross-training was probably the #1 thing because in 2016, those two offices combined, the clerk's office and the recorder of deeds. And so we've got folks that worked for the recorders and we got folks that worked for vital records of the clerk's office that had to come together. And so unifying that office is going to be one of my top things that I'm working on, and trying to make it feel like more as one office rather than two separate offices. So we're doing some cross-training, which is really being helpful.
Now, these are big shoes to fill. I mean, you've already been in them so far, but we're talking about Steve Sonamaker, who was in that role for many years before he passed away. For you, your unique qualities, given your background, can you kind of speak to your background and what you believe you can bring to the table in this role?
Well, I think first, being on the county board for 9 years gives me a really good background of kind of what has been happening in the county, and kind of already having my finger on the pulse of each of the departments by listening to all the committee reports. And actually I even chaired a couple of the committees when I was on the county board. So that background gives me a lot of helpful knowledge of running the office, as well as my background in economic development and banking, because we deal a lot with, of course, recording of mortgages and things like that. So I'm familiar with those documents. So that too helps me with doing the job.
And I know you were working, you're talking about your background with finances and banking, Chillicothe for a while as
It's the Director of Economic Development. For 7 years I was at the City of Chillicothe, and along with that kind of did their marketing and tourism too. So that customer service is just really my area that I enjoy and I pay attention to when I go other places. And people coming into the county for services, we should give them the best customer service that we can give them.
And also your own business as well?
Correct.
Okay.
I own Sweet Cakes by Rachael. I've been doing that for about 30 years actually. Started out in my home and now have a standalone facility. So, and again, customer service is key, because when you're a small business, that's what keeps people coming back.
Right.
So.
Is there any other changes? I mean, you're talking about the customer service. You're talking about looking at already that departments have been merged, so trying to figure out what works best there. Any other changes you believe that you could bring as far as functionality to the county clerk's office?
I think too, we have no one in there that speaks any language other than English. And so to be inclusive, and because Peoria is kind of a melting pot of folks from everywhere with, CAT and other businesses that bring people in, and because we can't really hire someone right now, there is a system that I'm looking to bring in within the next, I'm going to say 30, 60 days, where it's got over 100 different languages on there that you just simply touch the screen of what language you need, and then a live interpreter comes up. Even if you're doing sign language, then a live interpreter comes up, so that whoever comes in the door will be able to help them by utilizing that machine. And it will ask we'll talk to the machine and the machine will talk to them, and so we can converse back and forth with each other with that translator present. And it's really a nice system. I found out about it at one of the clerks' training sessions, and it's being used elsewhere. And I did some research on it, and it's won some awards, and so it's something that could really help the department, I believe.
And speaking of diversity as well, if I'm not mistaken, with your appointment into that role, you are the first African-American woman to be the county clerk here in Peoria County.
That is correct.
I'm sure that's not lost on you by any means. And And even within that, how do you believe your background in being an African American woman here within Peoria County, obviously you're already looking at ways to diversify. Are there any other ways that you're looking at doing that given who you are and that moniker?
Well, I just think that it's always on the forefront of your mind because you want to make sure that everybody's included. And I think it's easier for me as a black person knowing that that's important. And you know, and I go back to the county right now doesn't have a diversity officer, and so when I was on the board, that's one of the things I wanted to help bring back. But again, if you're not really conscious of that, it kind of just goes by the wayside. So yes, it is important to me to try to be as inclusive as I can and making sure that everybody is taken care of. And just being a minority, I think, rises the awareness of that, making sure that that's happening in all aspects of the office.
And I'm sure a question that you've received a lot, I mean, given your years on the county board, and yes, you were appointed, but why make that switch? Why make that switch from county board to county clerk?
Well, actually, they chose me. I was on the board, and I got the call from Chairman Rand when he was telling me who was going to be the new state's attorney and that who was going to be appointed as the clerk. And he told me that they had chosen me. And so there was a long pause there. And then I asked him how, they came up with that decision, and he gave me his explanation. But, Chairman Rand is a very smart man, and I'm sure he took a lot of time to decide who he was going to put there and why. And so I truly appreciate the appointment. Sometimes you don't know what you can do unless you're actually put into a position. And so now being there, I really see why he chose me to be there, and I believe that I can make a big difference in that department.